Let's talk about industry specifics in Chapter 6. Up till now, we've spent a lot of time on business level strategies and internal kinds of things, but when you're in a specific industry, even if you're a small business, there are some ways that you should behave or try to behave. First, you need to understand that there's an industry life cycle, just like a product life cycle. We have the early stage, the innovation stage, the cost, we go the shakeout stage, the maturity, and the decline. Early stage industries have some interesting characteristics. First off, generally it's pretty hard to raise money if you're in an early stage industry. These are industries that people haven't really caught on to yet. There's a lot of uncertainty and guesswork in an early stage industry. What do the buyers want? What's a fair price? What's demand going to be? We don't know those things yet. There's not a whole industry there. It's a new industry. There's generally a lot of battling among different technologies and features. So which technology is going to become the standard? There are generally low entry barriers, short of patents. There's not a lot of fighting that has to go on with rivals and so on. There's often, though, a very high learning curve, which will eventually lead to economies of scale and price reductions when that learning curve has been attained. So if you're in an emerging industry, what can you do? Well, do whatever you can to capture your first mover advantages. Take advantage of technology changes and technology emergence. The whole idea that you created this technology or you can do this technology better than the people who did create it. Meanwhile, you need to actually perfect the technology and the qualities and the features that are available. You can merge with or acquire smaller firms, start to gain market share, and get them out of your hair. And induce purchase and relieve fears. Basically, what we're talking about here is no, many people are afraid of change. And so what you want to do here is convince your potential customers that this is the coming thing, that it's going to be around for a long time, that it's really cool, it's not that hard to run, whatever the fears are that even the early adopters might have a problem with. So you spend a lot of your advertising time not marketing your brand, but marketing the product in general. Innovation industries, the second step here, are generally during the period of rapid improvements. Things are changing constantly and getting better. Every specific model has a very short life cycle, and we see this kind of right now in the smartphone industry. You've seen, I'm sure, TV ads where they say, oops, and the guy drops his phone in the toilet. It's because a lot of cellular providers want you to wait 2 years to upgrade your phone. Well, 2 years in this industry is forever. Quickly changing customer feature requirements. So I've had my cell phone for this long, for a couple of months, and it's like, geez, I wish it would do this, I wish it would do that. What people want to see changes. First, we're content that it actually, we'll make a phone call and send a text. Now we want it to spell check, and now we want it to have 47 different ringtones, and so the features change. What can we do if we're in the innovation stage? Well, we can start to acquire or form alliances with complementary companies and or our key suppliers. So if we have to have microchips, we darn well want to have a good relationship with our microchip company. As far as complementary companies, we can form alliances. You see it all the time in the cell phone industry. You can only get this at Sprint, or you can only get this in Verizon. You can start to try to find new customers, new ways of using it, or new applications, or geographic areas that haven't been exploited yet. You also want to make things very easy to buy and very inexpensive, so first-time buyers don't wait. So the innovators or the early adopters, I should say, are not going, well, yeah, the price is too high. So we just saw a 3D television the other day, a great big one, like 60 inches, and it was less than $2,000. And that wasn't even you don't even need glasses with this one. It was incredible. As the familiarity starts to build, I no longer have to advertise so much about 3D TVs as I can now start advertising my brand and how often you should be using it and so on, so that people start to build brand loyalty. Your value chain should start becoming more efficient and get some price cuts, the lower costs of productions. Step three is the shakeout industry stage, and that's pretty much what it is. Things are starting to get shaken up. The big rivals are going to start to emerge. It's still innovative. There's still going things going on, and still things to be made. But a lot of the smaller rivals are starting to be acquired by the large competitors. Customer demands have started to stabilize, so everything is not going nuts at one time. The each individual product's life cycle is starting to last longer. The barriers to entry are starting to get higher. So what do you do? Well, now at this point I'm going to start trying to gain additional distribution and sales outlets. I'm going to start to expand my geographic coverage. I might expand my product line. That's what economies of scope is, by the way, and really start heavily building brand loyalty. Okay. The fourth step is the maturing industries. These are industries that are just kind of floating along here. There's an increased intensity of rivalry in maturing industries in general, as two or three main rivals generally start to appear. The cost, the features, and the services are pretty much similar among the competitors, but we're seeing the maturing part of the industry happening with cellular services, not the cell phones, but the services. You start to see that Sprint and Verizon and these guys are all starting to offer similar features and costs. There's reduced profitability. Now, that doesn't mean that there's no profits to be made. What it means is generally people are starting to get a little bit more savvy and they're just not going to pay as much for stuff. We start to see a lot more competitor consolidations, and the buyers become a lot more sophisticated. They know more about the product in general, and so they'll start asking questions and looking for information. And innovation is now starting to become difficult. It's not impossible, but it's becoming harder to innovate in a maturing industry. So what do you do? Well, if you have products that are not really making you a lot of money or they're just marginal, get rid of them. Try to improve your value chain, more effective, more efficient, trim costs. Try to increase sales to your current customers. For example, I have a cell phone, so maybe you should be trying to sell me a cell phone for my son and a cell phone for my husband, because that would mean two more sales. Try to buy your rivals at a low cost, the ones that are thinking about going under. Why? Because you're going to get their market share, especially if it's geographic. Think about starting to expand internationally. And make sure that your core competencies become more flexible. An industry can be in the mature stage for a long, long time. Others, not so much. If you're in an industry that looks like the decline might happen fairly quickly, you want to be able to make sure that those core competencies are going to adapt easily. Okay, the declining industry. Our heyday is over. There are very few rivals left. Generally, there's a heavy cost emphasis in the declining industry. There is little or no product innovation. The innovation is very minor. But one thing you have to remember is just because the industry is in decline doesn't mean that there's no profit to be made. It just is not as much profit as it would have been in an earlier stage. So what can you do? You can determine to go with a focused strategy, either low cost leadership or differentiation. Take your fastest growing segment or your slowest declining segment, depending on what situation you're in. Then differentiate basically on service or become the low cost leader by driving costs down as absolutely much as you can.